Patterson.
Thank you. Well, I was cleaning out my desk a couple days ago. I ran across a news clipping that I had clipped out of the paper. And it was about a very successful businessman. And he said what got him so successful was by chance he happened to sit next to a woman on an airplane, and they got to talking about their business. And the woman confided in him that she had terminal cancer and didn't have that much longer to live. And she said that in her life she had always played it safe. And now that her future was very limited, now she had the courage to go for what she wanted. And her sales, as a result of the risk she was taking, had taken a sharp upward trend. And she said, you know, I wish I had known earlier that no one's out there to stop us. We stop ourselves. Think of that. We stop ourselves. And the man never forgot those words. And when he went home, he decided to change his life. And he has had a very successful job. He had a steady paycheck. He had money in the bank. But he decided to gamble it all and go for the one thing he wanted. He wanted to start a business of his own. People thought he was crazy. But 11 years later, he was the successful man in that story. Now, I remember cutting out that article because at that time I was having a tough time in my life because I had decided to do the same thing. And I had other words to guide me. At one time, I had been a hospice volunteer. And I discovered that at the end of life, that most people regretted not so much the mistakes they had made in life, but the dream they had never gone for. And as they laid on their deathbed, they wondered, what if I had gone for it? Could I have made it? Could I have accomplished that? And how would my life have been different? And as I left them, I decided that I wasn't going to end my life that way. That come what may, I'd know whether I had made it or not. And at that particular time, I was writing a book that was taking me much longer than I ever dreamed was possible. And my family, except for my kids, thought I was crazy. Why did you give up the security of a regular job? They demanded. And my sister regularly bought me want ads. And I refused to go along with them. I said, I'm going for my dream. And they said, oh, God. The rest of the family sensible, what happened to you? And I'm sorry to say I'm not where that businessman is today, but I'm only halfway through the 11 years that it took him to get there. Now then, I ask you to look at your lives and think, is there a special dream that you've had that maybe you've been unable to go for? Maybe this lure of a steady paycheck and the fear of being without it has stopped you. And that's a good thing. But you know, I looked up, as I was writing my book, I looked up the statistics, and depending on which one you use, 40 to 70% of the people don't like the work they do. Now, I couldn't find a statistic for people who don't like the life they lead, but I imagine that might be pretty high too. Now, I started around some sheets there for people to look at and to give it some thought, because I want to ask you, what about your life? Is there a dream that you've had that you really want to do? Do you like the life you live on a daily basis? If not, what are you going to do? You know, life's far too short to spend any part of it doing something you don't like, not enjoying your existence as it happens. So I ask you, look at your daily life. And have you ever stopped to create a plan? Have you ever, if you don't like the work you do, determined to find what it is you like to do? Is there something, a spirit of adventure within you you've been holding down, that you're dying to let out? That you know your life would be better for it if you had the courage to do it? Remember, there's no one out there to stop us. We stop ourselves. But you don't have to gamble everything. Here are some things you can do. Define that dream and make it a goal. Write it out, because until you write it out, it's only a wish. Then make a plan to achieve it. Now modify that plan, because things never go exactly as you want. Get the skills and information you need. Talk to others who are doing it and learn by their mistakes so you don't make them yourself. And do something toward it each day. Because if you risk nothing, you gain nothing. And only the person who risks is truly free. Now, I know that when you reach the end of life, you'll want to look back over your life and say, hey, I had the courage to live it well. I saw dreams I turned into possibilities. And I lived life to the fullest.